Have you been feeling like you understand insomnia recovery, you are doing the work, you seemingly feel so much better, you are no longer afraid of wakefulness, yet at the same time you're still waking up too early, or it still takes you a while to fall asleep, or maybe even feel anxious every once in a while? In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down these shifting sleep patterns in recovery, what they mean, what they look like, and also what you can actually do when they do show up. And if you are new here, my name is Fiona. I'm a recovered chronic insomniac, and insomnia was by far the hardest and most rewarding thing that I have ever had to go through. And I'm now dedicated to helping other people recover from insomnia holistically so that you truly do not need to go through the same kind of suffering and despair that I felt when I was personally struggling. Firstly, you're probably wondering whether or not you're ever going to get your sleep back. And this is such a common question. I also experienced this myself, and so many of my clients also ask me the same, whether or not you will ever sleep as well as you did prior to insomnia. And to that, I want to say yes, and probably actually better. So many times during the healing journey, we actually start to realize that we had these rules around sleep, or these expectations around sleep that little did we know actually disrupted sleep in itself. And once you actually fully remove the expectations on sleep, and also you completely heal your relationship with wakefulness and that expectation thereof, you will actually allow your body to fully let go and fully trust the process that sleep is this involuntary, completely passive process that you do not need to take care of. However, if you feel like you're not quite there, this probably means that you're still in a stage called the seedling stage. This basically means that you are understanding the concepts around insomnia. You fully see what this looks like. Maybe you have dismantled so many different sleep efforts that you used to implement to make sleep happen. And you are really healing your anxiety around wakefulness, yet maybe it feels like you're not fully there. And to that, I want to start by saying that this is so normal, and actually a very healthy and normal part of recovery. So to that, you should definitely also be proud that you have come this far, healing your relationship to wakefulness, and also healing this whole perception of threat is not easy, and it definitely takes courage and honestly so much self-compassion and self-kindness. So the fact that you've gotten here so far definitely says a lot about you, and it says that you're definitely on the right journey, and that maybe you just need to do a little bit more of the same. To speak of why this actually happens, this is because hyperarousal is something that also lives in our body. So conceptually, we know that maybe wakefulness is not a fear, but sometimes our body doesn't truly know that yet. And that's because our central nervous system is this very intelligent being that is trying to always keep us safe. And actually, our bodies can sometimes be stuck on our fight or flight mode, even if we feel like mentally we feel calm. In so many other situations, this can come down to like chronic stress, burnout, and also in general, like this idea of a perceived threat having been there. With insomnia specifically, we have had the experience where we are fearful of wakefulness, or we are fearful of not sleeping. Hence, our body has created this conditioned response. And this conditioned response that happens around bedtime, that happens in our bedroom, is something that's going to just take some time to break. And this is where logically you may start to understand the concepts, but sometimes it's just going to take your body just a little bit more time to truly get there. So now that you know that this is completely normal and that you don't need to be alarmed, let's talk about what this actually looks like, because it looks differently for everyone. It can also show up in so many different ways. To start, you may be experiencing something called post-arousal fatigue. This basically means that you're slowly reducing hyperarousal overall, you're reducing anxiety, you're reducing the cortisol in your body, your stress hormone, which also allows you to sleep maybe a little bit longer. Perhaps you're not sleeping as best as you would like. However, even if you're sleeping more, maybe you start to feel more tired during the day. And that might actually sometimes feel alarming, because you also think, okay, like I was literally sleeping 2 to 3 hours. I felt super alert during the day. And that's because you are stuck on your fight or flight mode. You're like running on so much adrenaline and cortisol that sometimes you're just not even attuned to the tiredness and the sleepiness in your body. And when you start to reduce your anxiety, reduce your hyperarousal, and reduce kind of like that fear around wakefulness, you'll actually start to realize that even though you're sleeping more, maybe not perfect, you're actually feeling more tired during the day. I used to sometimes experience this and I'd feel like, okay, what the heck is actually going on? And to that, I just want to say this is completely normal and actually a very normal and very healthy part of recovery. Your body will slowly catch up on the sleep that it needs. And over time, as you slowly fully heal your relationship with sleep, you will also start to realize that you feel also less tired the more your body kind of catches up with where you're at. Another thing that you may also experience during these shifting sleep patterns is waking up often during the night. Maybe prior to insomnia, you were someone who just slept right through the night, never woke up, and still, even though you're falling asleep fine, and maybe you're even sleeping until your desired wake up time, you're still maybe sleeping in a very fragmented way, or you're waking up often to go to the bathroom. Again, very normal part of recovery, very clear telltale signs that you're still a little bit stuck on this kind of like state of hyperarousal or fight or flight. And to this, I want to say that there's absolutely nothing you need to go in and do and fix to change this. The most important part of insomnia in general is always how we react to the situations. And if you feel like you are waking up in the middle of the night, ideally do not check the clock, but just allow yourself to rest. You can focus on resting as opposed to like trying to make sleep happen. And if you feel annoyed or an annoyance come up, just know that waking up in the middle of the night is actually so normal. Everyone wakes up in the middle of the night multiple times per night. However, most of us actually don't remember waking up. And again, this is also something, as you slowly reduce your hyperarousal with time, you will also notice that you remember the wake-ups less and less. Similar to that, you may also be experiencing Swiss awakenings or waking up at the same time every single day. Again, if you feel like this is happening in the middle of the night, it's still dark out, specifically also like in summer, and you know that it's definitely quite late, I would, one, encourage you still not to look at the clock. The more you look at the clock, the more it actually reinforces that continuous wake up. So if you feel like you are still waking up at the same time, again, no need to react to it badly. If you feel like it's taking you a while to fall back asleep, this is an excellent opportunity for you to still practice befriending wakefulness, doing something that you enjoy, maybe even reading a book, or even just focusing on resting, like knowing that sleep is something that will come to you and you do not need to chase. Alternatively, if you're waking up too early in the day, I would say that if you feel very awake, I don't know, say it's like 5 or 6 a.m., you ideally want to sleep till 8, but you feel very awake at 5 or 6, like that is also okay for you to just get up and out of bed. You maybe don't feel like this is ideal, but again, it is all about how we react to the situation. Know that maybe at the moment your body doesn't need as much sleep. And if you wake up and simply go about your day, that in itself is actually befriending wakefulness. You are taking back control. You are taking back control from the narrative of insomnia, and you are simply almost like seizing the day, right? You're making sure that you're just going about your day without actually reacting poorly to the fact of whether or not you can or cannot sleep in. And then lastly, this may also look like you still have quite an active mind, even though you're not anxious, or maybe you're still like very hyper aware, or maybe even at times you feel like you're getting worse before you get better. And this is also such a normal part of recovery. And that's because you are now understanding what is happening. When you start to realize that you are recovering from insomnia, you start to notice, okay, what is actually fueling the fire of insomnia versus what is actually promoting my recovery. And oftentimes, because we understand that worrying about sleep is in itself almost like a sleep effort, we almost like try and change that dialogue, right? We become hyper aware as to whether or not our thoughts are going in the right direction, what we actually need to do about them. And that in itself can cause hyperarousal or this like hypervigilance or like hyper observance of the situation. And again, for this specifically, this is where self-kindness and compassion truly comes in, and truly understanding that it is okay for you to feel uncomfortable during this process. It is not about being perfect. It is not about changing the situation. It is about how much you can actually deal with the situation at hand and be okay with the fact that you cannot control it. Like really practicing this idea of of letting go of perfection, of letting go of control, of just allowing the thoughts to be there. And slowly with time, specifically when you come back to the education and know that sleep is not something that you need to force, you will also start to realize that this hypervigilance will also decrease. Now that you know that this is a very normal part of recovery, I do want to touch on how you can actually approach this stage, because realistically, it can feel very frustrating. It can still feel very isolating to still be stuck in the struggle. And it can also feel like that last little piece of the puzzle is missing before you truly get to where you want to go. To which I want to start that this is where consistency is so much more important than perfection. Insomnia recovery is not asking you to be perfect. In fact, it is asking you the complete opposite. Oftentimes we are in the cycle of insomnia and in the struggle because we have these huge amounts of expectations on ourselves, and we have this huge amount of pressure on what it means to be perfect. And perfect specifically in this situation around sleep. But as you slowly recover, you'll probably start to realize that this theme of perfectionism actually goes down into so many other aspects of your life. Insomnia recovery is not asking you to be perfect. If you have had a bad night of sleep, the next day, you should still try and approach the night as you have been coming, with calm, with consistency, with simply knowing that there's nothing to fix. And again, if this does kind of trigger a little bit of a setback or a speed bump, know that that will correct itself over time. Always, 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 the most important thing is how you react to the situation. Yes, speed bumps are uncomfortable, and yes, sometimes they can also kind of like bring up all of these emotions and these thoughts. But again, it's all about simply observing the thoughts, coming back to consistency, coming back to the education, and knowing that you can offer yourself self-compassion and kindness, and know that the journey out of insomnia is not about being perfect. It is just about showing up. Number 2, I truly think that it is so important for you to normalize these little wobbles in recovery. Again, it takes your nervous system a little bit of time, and having a bad night here and there is not a sign of failure. It is actually a sign of progress, and this is completely normal. The more we expect recovery to be completely linear, the more we're actually setting ourselves up for failure. Realistically, insomnia recovery isn't simply something where we consistently sleep more every single night. It actually more looks like maybe you have 3 good nights and you completely forget about the struggle, and then maybe you have 3 horrible nights followed by another month of sleeping fine. Like, that is just a very, very normal part of recovery. And the more you actually detach to recovery looking in a specific way, actually you'll start to realize that that actually aids your recovery, because you are not putting pressure on how insomnia recovery needs to look like. In fact, full recovery truly looks like knowing that you can have sleep struggles in the future and know that regardless you will be fine. For example, for me now, I know that I will sometimes have sleep disruption, but again, I am not worried about it because there's nothing that I need to worry about, because there's nothing I need to fix. Number 3, this is where befriending wakefulness is this continuous habit. We have touched on the fact that befriending wakefulness isn't just something that you do at night, it is also something that you do during the day. And this is something that I definitely encourage you to come back to time and time again. If you feel like you are going through a little bit of a setback, or you're having trouble falling asleep, these are excellent opportunities where you can continuously practice befriending wakefulness and showing your body and your brain that wakefulness is not the enemy. If you're waking up too early, again, maybe just get up and out of bed. Just take advantage of your day. Know that sometimes it is okay to be tired. Your body and your mind are not asking you to be perfect. They're just asking you to show up, and that is enough. I hope this video gave you a little bit more peace. I know that this phase is very frustrating, but just know that you are on the right path. You have the tools, you have the knowledge. All you need to do is be kind to yourself and give yourself the time that you need. And if you are ready to kickstart your insomnia recovery journey, or you need a little bit more knowledge, then I've also linked a 5 Days to Better Sleep email series below. And if you have specific questions to this video or insomnia recovery in general, and you just don't know how to actually apply the knowledge, I would absolutely love if you dropped your comments below.